Mark Cabot is here for another Jubilate Music Group product focus video. And here with me today is our children's music editor at Jubilate Music Group, Susan Ernestine. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Mark.
Oh, it's great to have you here today, Susan, and thank you so much. And everyone, in this product focus video today, we're here to talk about a new children's musical released by Jubilate Music Group, Family Tree. And Susan and I worked very closely together on this musical to bring it to you and the public, and along with its wonderful writer, Ellen Woods Bryce. So Susan, talk about Family Tree. We're going to talk about kind of what it's all about and why it matters and why we did it. And before we launch into that, I will say quickly, a very important aspect of this musical is that it was originally released in 1983. That was when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and neither one of us were even born yet, were we, Susan? Of course not. And so anyway, but it was released way back when, and it was a different world back then, and we know that. But the musical, even then, we decided was ahead of its time because it covers topics such as adoption and communication and divorce and forgiveness. And those concepts never go out of style. But we certainly, as we worked with Susan together and with the writer Ellen Woods Bryce, we updated the script. They're not talking about tape recorders anymore. They're talking about cell phones. They're talking about ancestry, on the internet and getting things there, because it's Family Tree after all, and certainly the idea of all of Christians who are ultimately part of God's family. And so those things come into this new updated version of the musical. Susan, talk about the musical. What do you think are the strengths of Family Tree?
Well, one of the things that we talked about was that one of the main characters is this grandmother, and in the earlier version, she was the stay at home baking cookies, wearing an apron kind of grandmother, and so we contemporized that by she's a working grandmother. She's a librarian in a school, and so the kids are involved with her, whether they're her grandchildren or the friends of her grandchildren, the classmates of her grandchildren. It just, to me, it makes a really cool connection in that way. So you have this generational component within the script. And I just love the interaction that she brings, and the kids wanting to know how were things way back then, which, as a grandmother myself, I think it wasn't that long ago. Don't ask me those kind of questions. But I think the dialogue is very strong, and Ellen's songs, lyrics, just play out of it. There's a playfulness to it, but yet there are some very serious, like you mentioned, these serious topics, and even personalities between sisters. There's some complicated relationships, and we know that goes on in families as well. So I think there's a whole lot of combination of a lot of different things that children relate to in this time.
Absolutely, so well said. And this was a bestseller when it was released back then. And we believe, and again, I know that was then, this is now, but as I said, those concepts never go out of style. And the songs, I'm glad you mentioned the songs, they are wonderful. You Gotta Raise Your Parents Upright. Of course, the title song, By the Way, or Family Tree, and of course, By the Way, I Love You, about
Yeah.
communication and those kind of things. So I hope you'll go to the digital reading session on our YouTube channel for Family Tree, those of you who are viewing this product focus video, and check out the digital reading session to really get a good taste of the wonderful songs that Ellen has written. I will say one thing, not only did we update the dialogue, as I said, we updated some of the lyrics. And I remember when we were looking at it with a fine-tooth comb, one of the lyrics said, "Tick tock, I can hear the clock." And we realized that was the hurry scurry song, where they're talking about how they're always in a hurry, and that's never been truer for children these days. I mean, if we thought children were overscheduled in 1983, boy, they're really overscheduled in many cases now, or just super busy. And with all the activities, but we changed that lyric from "tick tock, I can hear the clock," because we figured a lot of kids don't know what a tick-tock clock is anymore. They're not used to clocks that tick tock. They're used to digital phones and things like that, and on and on and on. Let's talk about, Susan, the experience that this musical can be for children's choirs as they and the activities that are in the director's score and the scriptural teaching suggestions that are there that help make this more than just a performance.
Right. I as a choir director myself and a former music teacher in public school, I was always more focused on that process, that learning process. And I think that's in the church setting, even more than in the school setting, that is so important. And so we want to encourage them as they go through it. That every week is important, not just for preparing that final performance, but for what are the kids getting on that particular session that may affect them for long term. How is it going to help them through the next day or the next week or the next month or even years when they face problems? I think of the little girl that sings the song, nobody's listening.
I know a someone.
Yeah,
or yeah, nobody's
yeah.
listening to me. Nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening to me, and I
Right.
bet most of the children can relate to that, and it'll bring it home to them. And so I think as they go week to week to week, that only the kids and only the adults in the room may never ever know the full picture of what goes on there, but that just supports and undergirds the story that's presented in the end. And when parents hear a child stand there and say and sing, "Nobody's listening to me," that's going to speak to an audience loudly from the mouth of the children. But those you can't present a big spiritual concept in a 30-minute musical or 40-minute musical, but you can present it over a 10 to 12 to 16-week period so that the kids take it home with them.
Absolutely. So well said, Susan. Thank you, and agreed. And Family Tree is that musical that really brings these concepts and these moments home to these children, and I think can impact lives eternally, and let alone for the rest of their lives. I don't want to make any more of it than it is, or any less of it than it is.
Right.
Well, we're also announcing today an exciting opportunity invitation for all the choirs who do Family Tree to send us pictures of your children on their first rehearsal or early rehearsal or kickoff, and we're going to collect those and put them in a virtual family tree that we will show to the world through email blasts and social media and those kind of things. And Susan here is preparing some special tips. Tell us about those, Susan, and we'll talk about how they can access those.
Well, we want to offer some ideas and some tips and suggestions of, okay, I've got this musical, now how do I get started? So it might be that some tips for a kickoff party or a special rehearsal, and maybe some fun things to do that first night because they don't know anything. So what are some fun things and the ways to really draw them in to the theme of this musical? So those will be available at the website, right?
Absolutely, at jubilatemusic.com/family tree. jubilatemusic.com/family tree. There you will find Susan's tips and ideas and suggestions for that kickoff rehearsal and beginning of Family Tree. Just a free download. So I hope you'll check that out. And we hope you will then follow the instructions on that page so that you can submit your pictures of your first kickoff rehearsal and those kind of things. And again, we're going to create a virtual family tree to share with everyone. Hope you'll be a part of that as well. Susan, thank you for your time today to talk about this wonderful musical. And if you go to the Show More section of this video, you'll see an interview that we conducted with Ellen from her perspective on the musical as well. So make sure you click on the Show More and you'll see an interview that you can read from Ellen. Again, thank you, Susan. It's great that you are on board with Jubilate Music Group, helping us with our children's musicals and children's music. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. It's a joy.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in to this product focused video.